The last 2 weeks I've been traveling, and I've noticed that when I gotten on the airplane, they make this announcement: do not bring your Samsung Galaxy 7 smartphone on the airplane. You can't check it in. You can't bring it on. It might start a fire. What went wrong? I have with me Nile expert on social media, technology, and human relations. He is Skyping with me this morning. Niall, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be with you this morning.
Thank you, man. How are you feeling about the elections?
Well, I didn't like any of our candidates, so I'm not excited about it, but we're Americans. It's time for us to figure out how to get together. And since I think a lot of us aren't satisfied, whether you were pro-Trump or pro-Hillary or any of the other candidates, that it's time for us to maybe get together and work together to make it different the next election.
Why weren't you satisfied with Trump? I can understand not being satisfied with Hillary, knowing that she's crooked, a liar, cannot be trusted, a failure, has not succeeded at anything, but why weren't you satisfied with Trump?
I think it's all of the things that a lot of people have talked about, mostly being when I expect somebody to represent all of the people, I expect them to be able to do that in a firm but respectful way. And I think Donald Trump, I think there's a lot of things that I'm excited that he may do, but I was just not at all excited about the way that he disrespected so many people in so many ways. I think you could deliver your message in a respectful way, and maybe that gets people to listen rather than turns them away.
I know you're not here to talk about Trump, but can you give me one example of him being disrespectful?
I think the biggest thing started really after the first debate with the comments that flowed from the Megyn Kelly issue. That's just something that started the process, but we could literally cite hundreds of examples. Now, I could tell you at the end of the day, that's who I ended up voting for. So while I could
did you vote for?
Talk all the smack here about Trump, that's also who I voted for. I just did not like any of the candidates.
I am fascinated by Donald Trump. Donald Trump set an example of what we all should strive to become. He reminded me of the good old days when boys were boys and men were men. Men didn't allow people to just run over them and disrespect them and lie on them and not fight back. In the good old days when men were men. And I realize men today are girly men. They think and act like women, so they don't have the same courage. And Donald Trump displayed that courage. When Megyn Kelly or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or Big Mama Michelle or the liberal media or Paul Ryan, any of those people attacked him, he stood up and fought back. And that's what we have not had in the country so long, that the liberals and the weak people didn't know what to do with that because they have not seen a Republican white male stand up and defend himself. I think maybe that's what confused you.
And I honestly think that's why he was elected. But I think standing up and defending yourself is absolutely your right. As a matter of fact, I've had a rule for a long time. Many women disagree with it, but I never hit a woman until you hit me twice. And
they don't have to hit me,
hit me.
Right.
So
they don't have to hit me but once and they're down.
I'm sorry?
They don't have to hit me but one time and they're down.
Well, I give them a grace one hit, and after that, it's like, yeah, don't do that again. And when you start the second time, we're on equal footing at that point in time.
Yeah. Quick story, and I want to and this is going to lead into the phone situation. I went to Wichita Falls over the weekend, Texas, and on the way back, I get on the airplane, I'm putting my bag up in the overhead thing, so I'm rearranging some bags up there so that I can put my bag in. And this flight attendant, white female, it doesn't matter the color, but it was a female. She yelled from front, right up in front of the plane there, "Don't move those bags." And she was like really nasty. And so I said, first of all, you need to watch the way you're speaking to me. And then I noticed, like, when she was on the PA system, she was just the B word. She was just nasty and just phony, and you could tell that she was one of those people you would not want to have lunch with. And so at the end of the flight, when I was getting off in L.A., she was on the PA system saying, "Welcome to L.A., blah, blah, blah," right? So I went up to her and I said, "Look, don't you ever, as long as you walk this earth, speak to a black man that way again. Do you understand me?" I should have just said man, but I wanted her to really feel the grief. And she was like on the PA system trying to make it so you could hear me all over the plane. Don't you ever do that again. I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you ever do that again, you're going to live to regret it. Do you get me? And she's like, all shaking and nervous. She's like, yeah, I got it. And I realized that these liberal women, these godless people, we have allowed them to go out of control in that they can say and do what they want to men, and the men don't fight back. We got to start fighting back, and Donald Trump set that example.
Yep. Yeah, and as I said, I could respect that, but I respect standing back in a way that, if my mom was there, my preacher was there, my kids were there, I'd be proud of the way I fought back, as opposed to maybe saying, you know what, I probably could have said that better. I probably could have acted better.
Oh, how about if your father was there? You mentioned your mother, but not your father.
The same thing. I would expect to be able to react in a way that I could be proud in front of my entire family, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, so on.
Do you have the same respect for your father that you have for your mother?
Ultimately, I probably had more respect for my father than I did for my mother.
Oh, good.
Growing up, we didn't get along well. We butted heads. I didn't reconcile well with my mother until I was in my mid to late 20s, when I really sort of got what my mother had done for me and the sacrifices that she'd made and everything like that. Until then, I saw that she tried to take more away from me than empower me. I saw my father try to empower me.
Yeah.
So there was a dramatic difference.
That's what mothers tend to do. Not all, but most. They weaken their children, boys and girls. They impose their will on their children so that they can control them through a lifetime. And a lot of kids don't overcome that because they don't realize the hatred that they have toward their mothers allows her to control you for the rest of your life. But if you can face her and forgive her for what she's done, meaning I'm sorry for hating you for what you've done, then she can no longer control you. And most mothers will follow you from state to state to live near you just to control you. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have. And I agree with you. If you're able to find out, to stand on your own, stand strong, and stand equal, I think ultimately you end up having a better relationship.
Right. And always, just one other point, all the way you're going to have that better relationship with your mother, you're going to have to overcome her. As long as you're connected to her, you will never have the proper relationship with her. Isn't that amazing?
It is. It really is.
When did this problem with the Note 7 begin?
Well, the Note 7 was introduced in early August. In fact, I say early August, August 16th. Problems started to appear with it by August 24th. At that point in time, they'd already had reports of about 5 to 10 explosions with the phone. And in just 8 days, problems started to pop up with it.
Do you know what went wrong? What caused the fire? Is it something that is intentionally done? Did somebody set Samsung up, or what went wrong?
Well, there's a lot of people looking at this. Obviously, Samsung's looking at it. Here's the surprising thing. They've canceled the phone. They've pulled all the phones back. It's cost them an estimated $17 billion.
Wow.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
But as of today, they still don't know the exact problem. They've identified 3 or 4 possible causes. It's probably a number of these factors together. But if you were to look at one single cause, it probably was they were rushing the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 to market to beat the latest iPhone announcement,
They
and
were
they just didn't test it right.
they were edging out Apple at iPhone at one point. Did Samsung ever admit to? Well, did they admit to the fault right away?
No, they didn't. They thought that this was a limited issue related to certain batteries that they'd manufactured. There were two manufacturers of the batteries, Samsung and a second Chinese manufacturer.
Right.
Samsung thought it was their own batteries, so they recalled initially the phones that had their batteries in the phone. They didn't recall all of the phones.
Now,
Within 2 weeks, they recalled them all.
Now, what is your website or email, whatever it is you want to give out?
Well, the easiest way for people to connect with me is on Facebook at toptechnologytips.com. I talk a lot on technology. Social media obviously interplays with that. So they could find a lot of what I do on Facebook at Top Technology Tips.
We're talking about Samsung Galaxy Note 7 smartphone. What are they doing to prevent this in the future?
Right now they're really spending a lot of time trying to find out what the problem is, as I'd mentioned. They still don't know exactly what the problem is. But one thing they have done is they said, we rushed to bring this product to market. We never should have done that. So they've actually reassigned and or terminated a number of people on the product development team as well as the engineering team. And right now they're spending an enormous amount of money to really get to the root cause of what the problem is.
That's amazing.
This isn't just the phone that they're having problems with. As you've seen, they've had refrigerator problems. They've had washing machine problems. They've had a number of problems. So Samsung's struggling with their brand right at the moment. They've certainly had stumbles along the way, as most companies have, but this is by far the biggest. As I'd mentioned, this is a $17 billion product and problem, and it lasted, when it was introduced on the product, less than 6 weeks.
Is Samsung a Japanese-owned company?
Samsung's a Korean company, and it's one of the largest Korean companies. In fact, it's one of the largest companies in the world. From the smartphone marketplace, as you'd mentioned, right now it is the dominant smartphone manufacturer in the world by far. They're 3 times larger than anybody else, including Apple. So, and most people don't know that because in the United States, Apple has more of the market share.
Right.
But worldwide, Samsung has about 70% of the market share.
Had not they had this problem, would they have been a better product than Apple?
I think the product is far superior. I think if you get down to the technical parts of it, the real difference between the Apple products, which are second in the marketplace, and the Samsung products is the operating system. Samsung's on an Android operating system, which is an open platform, and they struggle sometimes to control the security of that platform. In the Apple environment, Apple is a very closed platform. Apple's not without their security issues as well, but their security issues are a little bit more controlled.
That's amazing. So you believe that they will recover from this?
I'd be surprised if they don't. Samsung is a solid brand. It's a company with integrity. This is a major stumble. It's a major black eye. But I think, a lot of times when we have problems and we really get in and address the problems, we come out of that issue stronger. And I think Samsung probably will as well.
That's one thing about life. You run into things like this, in life. And if you're able to overcome them, most people don't. But when you do, you are a better person or a better company for it.
Absolutely. And I expect we'll see that from Samsung.
One last question. I read that you deal in human relations. What's that about?
Well, if you talk about social media and success in social media, you also probably read that my main social media platform that I really help people leverage is LinkedIn. And when you're really talking about social media and LinkedIn, you have to become somewhat of a human relations expert, because you and I right now, we're able to look at each other. We're able to talk at each other. There's a lot of visual cues. There's a lot of audio cues that we get. When we're on social media, we're reading something. None of those cues come through. And so you have to be very delicate. You have to be very deliberate and very careful and precise in the way you deliver those messages. Otherwise, you could get a message that's far different than what you'd planned to deliver, and it
Yeah.
could cause you a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's amazing. I really enjoyed talking to you now. You are something else.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you this morning as well.
And I appreciate you voted for Trump. Thank you.
Well, let's get thumbs up for the next 4 years, but really, let's bring America together. There's just so much divisiveness now, and you know what? We have to open our ears and open our hearts and listen. And I'm not saying that compromises our values by any stroke of the imagination, but we're one country under one flag. Let's find a way to do it together.